Welcome back to another class on Amot shel Halacha. Ein lo lakadosh baruch hu be'olama ela arba Amot shel Halacha bilvad. We are in the Chazara program in part 28. Today we want to see a fascinating machloket between the Geonim and Rabeinu Tam. We always hear about the time of the Geonim, the time of Rabeinu Tam, but do we know how it works? Today we're going to see it, B'ezrat Hashem. Comes Rav David Yosef Shlita and he says, Ela shenechluku Rabeinu Tam ve'Geonim ematai huzman shkiat hashemesh. Rabeinu Tam and the Geonim, they argued, when is the time when the sun sets? Shebo matchil zman ben hashmashot. That in that sunset begins twilight. Now before we do continue, I want to just share with you like this. According to the Geonim, if 6 p.m. is sunset, we'll see 13 and a half minutes later is when the stars come out. That means this period over here, the 13 and a half minute period, is called Ben Hashmashot. However, according to Rabeinu Tam, it's a little bit different. We'll see now, according to Rabeinu Tam, there are two sunsets. First sunset is going to be at 6 p.m. Second sunset is going to be at 6:58 and 30 seconds. 58 minutes and 30 seconds later is the second sunset. We'll see over here today. According to Rabeinu Tam, this is when the Ben Hashmashot begins, according to Rabeinu Tam. V'shitat Rabeinu Tam sheben hashmashot eino matchil miyad im shkiat hashemesh kishemitkasseh hashemesh min ha'ayin. The opinion of Rabeinu Tam is that Ben Hashmashot does not begin immediately with the first sunset. Once the sunset is no longer visible to the eye. Ela, rather what? Yeshnam shtei shikiyot. There are two sunsets according to Rabeinu Tam. Hashkia Rishona hi miyad, the first sunset is immediately. Kishemitkasseh hashemesh min ha'ayin. Once the sun is no longer visible to the eye. Ube'ota sha'a adayin yom gamerhu, and at that moment, it is still completely day outside. V'nimshach zman zeh ad shi'ur mehalach shalosha mil v'reva. And this measurement, this time continues. The duration from 6 p.m., that is still day, continues for 3 meal and a quarter. Dehainu, 58 dakot v'chatzi, which is going to be 58 minutes and 30 seconds. Lefi cheshbon mehalach hamil, 18 dakot. Which is going according to when a person walks 1 meal, which is 18 minutes. So let me explain to you like this. According to Rabeinu Tam, he holds that there are two sunsets. First sunset is immediately at 6 p.m. Once the sun is no longer visible to the eye, that is the first sunset. However, Ben Hashmashot, twilight does not start over here. Rather, at this moment, it's still complete day outside. And this continues for 3 meal and a quarter. Now, we learned in the previous class that to walk 1 meal, an average person walks 1 meal is 18 minutes. So what are we going to do? We're going to take 3 meal and a quarter of a meal. We'll take 3 times 18, which is going to give me 54. 18 minutes times a quarter of a meal, which is going to give me 4 minutes and 30 seconds. We're going to add them together. I'm going to get 58 minutes and 30 seconds. That's why I put over here, Rabotai, 58 minutes and 30 seconds is from the first sunset to the second sunset. This is where the second sunset begins. Now we're going to see, Rabotai, after the second sunset, this is where 13 and a half minutes later stars come out. And this period is called Ben Hashmashot. Excuse me. Excuse me. Then this is considered to be the second sun setting, right over here at 6:58 and 30 seconds. Umatchil zman ben hashmashot. On the second sun setting, that's when twilight begins. V'nimshach ben hashmashot kishur mahalach shalosha revei mil. And ben hashmashot continues for the duration of 3/4 of a meal, which is what? Dahainu shlosh esrei dakot v'chetzi, which is 13 and a half minutes. twilight is 13 and a half minutes. Again, remember, everybody holds that Ben Hashmashot is 13 and a half minutes. The only question is, when does this Ben Hashmashot period begin? So right now we're learning, according to Rabeinu Tam, the Ben Hashmashot period begins by the second sunset. And then after the 13 and a half minutes have passed, that's when it's going to be, when the stars come out, that's when it's already night. This is the opinion of Rabeinu Tam. Now, if you want to simplify the matter, if you want to know according to Rabeinu Tam, when is it nightfall, without having to go through all these calculations, comes Rav David Yosef Shlidan, he tells you very simple. From the first sunset, 172 minutes have passed, that's when nightfall is. 6 p.m. is sunset. An hour and 12 minutes later is going to be 7:12. So if whatever sunset you have, if you're going to take the seasonal minutes and you're going to add an hour and 12 minutes, whatever is going to come out to you should know that's exactly when nightfall is according to Rabeinu Tam. Now, Rabotai, the next piece is very fascinating. The next piece is mind-boggling. Ukeshita zo, who holds like this opinion? Who holds like Rabeinu Tam? Ukeshita zo shel Rabeinu Tam, according to this opinion of Rabeinu Tam, hiskimu rov rabotenu harishonim umaran ha-shulchan aruch verabim me'achronim. Majority of the Rishonim rabbis agreed with Rabeinu Tam. Maran the Shulchan Aruch that we follow agrees with Rabeinu Tam, and majority, a lot of Achronim, later generation rabbis, also agreed with Rabeinu Tam. Veshita the Geonim. Now let's move on to understanding the opinion of the Geonim. Veshita the Geonim, sheben hashmashot matchil miyad im shkiyat hashemesh. כשמסתיימת ירידת גלגל השמש מן האופן ואינו נראה יותר לעין. According to the opinion of the Geonim, immediately once it's 6 p.m., once the sun is no longer visible to the eye, that's immediately when sunset begins. ונמשך כשיעור מהלך שלושת רבעי מיל. And Ben Hashmashot continues for 3/4 of a meal, which is 13 and a half minutes. And then it's when the stars come out. So Rabotai, before we do continue reading more, I want to just go with you outside. The machloket between the Geonim and Rabeinu Tam. Let's make this simple. Ben Hashmashot, everybody agrees, is 13 and a half seasonal minutes. The question is, when does sunset begin? So from there I can say that twilight continues from there. According to the Geonim, they go with the first sunset. Immediately once sunset begins, from there then and on, it's immediately Ben Hashmashot, it's twilight. 13 and a half minutes later, when the stars come out, that's already nightfall. Perfect. According to the Rabeinu Tam, when the sunset begins, so I can say that after then you have Ben Hashmashot. We're going to say that specifically after the second sunset. So according to Rabeinu Tam, if the first sunset is at 6 p.m., once the sun is no longer visible to the eye, this is considered to be the first sunset. In our case, let's say 6 p.m. At this moment is still complete day. This continues for 3.25 meals. Like we did the calculation, we get 58 minutes and 30 seconds later. After 58 minutes and 30 seconds later, which is the second sunset now, we're going to tell you after that begins the twilight period. The twilight period is 13 and a half minutes. 13 and a half minutes later, that's when the stars come out. So, very simple. According to Rabeinu Tam, how do I know when it's night? 72 minutes after the first sunset is considered to be night. According to the Geonim, when is it considered to be night? 13 and a half minutes.